Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Looks like some people are coming in. Welcome. I'm Jillian Castor, your Community and Advocacy Manager. Please let us know in the chat where you are joining from. And just a heads up with the chat, that's only going to go to our hosts and panelists today, but we'd love to see where you are joining us from. I see Krista from Alabama, so good to see you. We're very excited to have you here. I'm Jillian Castor, the Community Manager of the Science of Reading Collective. Today's session is only going to be 30 minutes, and it will be recorded. And actually, we will share it in the Science of Reading Collective along with a challenge for today. I'm going to give us all one more minute as people are filtering in. Hi, Debbie from Texas. So glad you're here. If you are just joining, let us know where you are calling in from. Ooh, Heidi from Texas, Lori from Kansas. Good to have you here. All right, we are going to get started. I'm super excited to introduce you to Dr. Stefanie Steffan. I am just delighted to have her with us here. She is she brings with her over 30 years of experience in literacy education, holding an elementary teaching certification from the University of Missouri and a master's degree with Missouri Special Reading Certificate and a doctorate in educational leadership from Williams Woods University, a former adjunct professor at Webster University and Fontbonne University, and also served as a dissertation chair at William Woods, guiding future educational leaders. Stefanie has extensive experience in advanced credentials, underscore her commitment to empowering students and educators through effective literacy practices. She is currently the coordinator of elementary literacy and title programs at Rockwood School District in St. Louis area, where she started her career as a first grade teacher. Stefanie, we're so delighted to have you here, and I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Jillian. It sure is interesting to hear one's life in just a few sentences. So my passion is reading. Like Jillian said, I started out my career as a first grade teacher, and that is all I ever wanted to be. And as soon as I got my very first job as a first grade teacher, I realized that the most important thing is teaching children how to read in first grade. And I really struggled with that. So I went back to work on my master's really just to help me be a better first grade teacher. And through that process, I just developed a love of literacy and a love of watching kids learn to read. And so after that, I became a reading specialist and have spent my entire career supporting elementary readers. So I'm really excited to be here with you today. I hope you leave with some new knowledge and understanding of what I do. So we have an agenda here. It's a lot to cover in 30 minutes. So some things I will go over super fast, but we'll try to get to the most important piece of selecting resources that meet the needs of learners in your district. So first, I always like to start with a quick definition of curriculum versus resources. Curriculum is your standards. It's what you are required to teach by your state. In Rockwood, we group those standards into instructional units and really map things out from one grade to the next. The resources are not the curriculum. The resources are the tools we use to teach the curriculum. A lot of times people will say, you know, I don't have my curriculum. And it's like, well, do you not have your Missouri Learning Standards, or do you not have the materials you need to teach them? So it's really two separate things. And as I go through this process, you'll kind of see what I mean by that. All right, so getting things started, writing curriculum should take about 2 years. And the most important thing is the people that you have on your committee. In Rockwood, we're a fairly large district for Missouri standards. We have 19 elementary schools. We have about 20,000 students in Rockwood. We're a suburb of St. Louis, like Jillian said earlier. So for my committee, I had representatives from each of the 19 schools. One represented from grades kindergarten through second grade, and then I also had one who represented grades 3 through 5. So that was really the most important thing, was balancing out the teachers and making sure I had equal representation from each of the grade levels. From there, I invited administrators to join, also reading specialists, librarians, special education teachers, an early childhood teacher, a gifted education teacher, just to make sure that we were representing all aspects of elementary education so we could get everyone's voices heard in the process. So once the committee was formed, we sought external support as well. So we had a professor from the University of Missouri and a professor from St. Louis University supporting our work as well. And back when we started this work, it was right after the pandemic, and we weren't able to get substitute teachers yet. So we had to really think creatively on how to do this work. Meetings were often at night or via Zoom. And so it was really exciting once we finally got to come together and do the work. So let's go through the timeline here, and then we'll kind of talk about what we did. So we always start with evaluating our current curriculum and our current resources, looking at what had changed from the last time we had Common Core standards. Now we had Missouri Learning Standards. Missouri also came out with a list of priority standards that we had to consider. We looked a lot at assessment data. We are very lucky in our district that we are pretty data rich. We are able to really look and analyze at what our strengths and our weaknesses are with our current data. The other piece of this was looking at survey data. We surveyed our parents, our community members, our teachers. We also surveyed 4th and 5th graders to get their feedback on what we were currently doing. And then part of that is also doing research on current trends in education. So when we started this process, it was, the reading wars were hot and heavy. There was a lot of debate on what's the best way to teach children how to read. Being an educator since 1994, I have seen the pendulum swing from whole language is what we started with, get those kids to love reading and they will read. And then we went to phonics, phonics, phonics. And as we swing that pendulum with my first class of first graders in 1994, I was loving reading. I read to them. I got them to really embrace reading. But there were a group of them that just weren't learning to read. They needed the structured phonics. They needed that really explicit instruction. So then we swing that way. And so as I've gone through my career, I've kind of watched us swing from one theory to another. And really what we need is a balance. We need all the things. We need the structured phonics, but we also need deep comprehension. And we also need books that are accessible to all kids. So I've learned a lot over my career. And I think the biggest piece that I wish everyone understood was that the science of reading has been around since long before I became a teacher in 1994. Science of reading is the research behind how kids learn to read. And we're really lucky to be in an era now where we have so much research and so many explicit ways that we can actually see how the brain learns to read. And it's fascinating. And we really wanted to make sure we included current science of reading research in our plan. So we come up with the plan. And then once we have designed the curriculum, and I'll walk you through kind of what that looks like in a minute, I compiled a list of vendors. started meeting with the vendors. Then we tried things out. In Rockwood, we don't call things really pilots. We sometimes call them field tests. I like to call them tryouts. They're kind of like an audition, like what are we wanting to use for our kids and what works best. Making final decisions and then implementation, providing professional development for our teachers, and then jumping right in. So that's kind of an overview of what we did. We focus a lot of work on Rick DeFore's 4 corollary questions. What do we want students to know and be able to do? How will we know if they've learned it? How will we respond when they do not learn it? And how will we extend the learning for students who demonstrate proficiency? So with those questions in mind, and with all the research we were doing, we also read several books. I had 3 book studies with my committee. Brain Words is really deeply rooted in the science of reading and how kids learn to read and remember words. Shifting the Balance. I wish it didn't say K through 2 because I felt like it really was applicable all the way through 5th grade. There is a new Shifting the Balance that we've done a book study with since then that has been specifically for 3rd through 5th. And then the Fresh Look at Phonics by Wiley Blevins. In addition to these 3 books, we read a ton of articles, lots and lots of articles, lots and lots of research. So one of the things that I think maybe sets our process apart from other districts is our belief statements. We worked as a committee to come up with what we believe based on experience and research and data. What do we believe we want all kids and all teachers to have in the ELA curriculum? So these are a few of them. I debated on sharing the entire list of our belief statements, but I hesitated because I don't want my beliefs to become your beliefs. It really is a process of developing these with your teachers that really gets the buy-in. So I have a few examples here that are from our belief statements. But again, I think it's really important to do this work with your own teachers. So I did it with that committee that I shared earlier, and then they took it back out and shared with the teachers in their schools, administrators. We shared it at different meetings, and we would come back and tweak back and forth several times before we came up with our final list. I think the final list has maybe 10 belief statements. And since we did this, we did it the first time. We adopt new curriculum in Rockwood every 8 years. So I did this the first time when I went through the process as a coordinator back in 2015, and did it again. And since then, all of our curricular areas in Rockwood K-12 begin the process with belief statements. So we believe for learners, and then we have a list of what we believe for teachers. So making sure that they are represented here as well. All right, so now we know all the research, all the data, all the things, and what we believe in, and then we have to start putting things together. So we group our standards into curricular units. This is just an example of the template that we use. One of the big pieces in this is the essential questions and the enduring understandings that we want children to have from this unit. Then each unit is put in like a timeline type format so that it's mapped out throughout the year. And then we take all the courses. So for ELA, we have reading, writing, and word study. So we take that and map it out in a pacing guide from the beginning of the school year till the end. And then teachers really use that pacing guide as their foundation for everything. There's lots of links they click on. We house all of the curricular resources in Canvas. We make it so that like I'm the teacher and the teachers are the students. So I can share things out that way, and they can have everything always updated and clickable. So that has been really nice. I feel like I'm talking really fast, and it's really weird that I can't see you. So I hope you're all still with me here. This is a lot. All right. So once we get the standards kind of grouped together, we put them into course outcomes. So here's an example of what we have for kindergarten, for reading and for writing. Anything that is marked essential is something that we provide interventions in. It's the standards grouped together into an outcome that we want all kindergartners to be able to leave kindergarten being able to do. So of course we want them all to be engaged in reading, but there's really no intervention we would provide for engagement. But when we look at demonstrating phonological awareness or applying phonics, we definitely have interventions that go with that. So the ones that are marked essential are the ones we plan on reteaching and intervening on before they move on to the next grade level. So once we've grouped the standards into course outcomes, then we put them into a proficiency scale. So in Rockwood, we grade using a standards-based format of 1, 2, 3, and 4. We also have a 1.5 and a 2.5. We do not use zeros because we think that all children can be on that proficiency scale at some point, 1 through 4. So the outcomes then are grouped. The 3s are the standards. We have the standard codes here that you can see. Those are the Missouri Learning Standards. So a 3 is considered proficient. So the goal is to get a 3. A 4 is exceeding. This course outcome is on print awareness. There's no way to exceed the 3s for print awareness. You either have it or you don't. So there's no 4 possible for this one. But then the 2s are really the building blocks to get up to the 3s. So we focus with our teachers a lot on, what is it to be proficient, but then what building blocks do they need in order to get to that 3? And then we have a little bookmark we use for parents. We've done standards-based grading now for, probably 7 or 8 years. And so our parents are getting used to it now. It's a big shift for kids. We are doing it kindergarten through 5th grade. And it really does help in the end. It helps parents understand what their kids can and cannot do. And it's been good. It was a long process, but it's really good now. So now we've got all the curriculum written and ready to go. And now it's time to look at what resources can we find to support the work we've done. And so I started just a list. I have a big spreadsheet of any resource that other school districts have used. We are lucky in the St. Louis area. We have a group of language arts coordinators that get together from the other districts and collaborate. So really looking at what other districts are using and what they think of it. Hearing from teachers, when we have over 500 elementary teachers in our district, they all have friends in other districts and they've all done their own research and they had ideas of what they wanted us to consider. And then just getting on and doing my own online research. I took a lot of the products or programs that people recommended and then looked them up and kind of gave them a score on my own. Because as most of you know, there's probably hundreds, if not thousands of different things we could consider to use to teach elementary kids how to read. So that was the first step, was getting that list put together. So once I had my list and I was kind of doing my own research on the programs, it had to be effective and proven with research. It had to be aligned to our Missouri Learning Standards. It had to be engaging and age appropriate. That was a big piece that we ran into once we started field testing. And then what is the teacher experience like? What planning is involved? What resources are included? What outside work do the teachers need to do to implement this? So once we got to a manageable number of resources, I kind of scored things on my own and then brought things to a smaller committee. I took my big committee and brought it down to about 10 to 15 people. And we really dug in and looked at all the resources. Back when I did this, we were still in a substitute teacher shortage, and we weren't able to pull teachers as much to look at everything. So we had to do a lot of work creatively. So, we had a scoring sheet, a rubric. Every time anybody looked at a resource, they gave it a score using a Google form, and that way I could collect everything electronically. But we wanted the program not only to be aligned to our standards and be effective, but we wanted it to align to our belief statements. And that was part of the difference that really let some programs move to the next step and some were eliminated, because we needed to make sure that whatever we picked aligned to what we believe in for kids and teachers. So we always brought that back every time we started any meeting or any group together. We always reviewed our belief statements and really wanted to be grounded in what we truly believe, rather than being swayed by bells and whistles and things that can be part of programs. So the belief statement piece really came into play and was very important for us in the process. All right, so field tests. So like I told you earlier, I liked to call them tryouts just because, I don't know, I'm nerdy. We had a lot of different products that teachers wanted to try. So I worked with the vendors once we got kind of to a finalized list of things. I recruited teachers to try things out. I wanted to make sure I had every grade level represented, different schools represented. In Rockwood, our schools are grouped into quadrants. So it's always important to make sure we have people from different areas of our district. And then started trying things out. And as soon as it got into teachers' hands, it became a lot clearer on what we liked and what we didn't like. And I was busy running around to all of our schools observing, and I would bring teams with me. I have some literacy coaches and reading specialists that we could travel around and see all the things and get the feedback. And then finally, picking things. Last time in 2015, when we adopted curriculum, we went with one program that had reading, writing, phonics, word study, all the things in one nice box. Well, several boxes, but one program. And once we started adopting that, then teachers thought, we like the reading, we don't really love the writing, or I like the phonics, but I don't like the phonemic awareness. Teachers liked parts of it and not the whole. So the big piece of our research and our survey came back that they wanted the best thing for each piece. They wanted the best thing for writing, the best thing for phonics, the best thing for reading. So it complicated things a little bit because I didn't work with just one vendor. We had a lot of different vendors and a lot of different licenses, and aligning all the programs together into that pacing guide to get it to, work smoothly throughout the year was a challenge, but I think worth it in the end. So when considering contracts, looking at digital versus physical resources, what will the teachers have in their hands? What will they access online? What does it look like for the student? What does it look like for the teacher? Consumables. This is the thing that gets you, because you need to know, what am I buying every year? What do I have to purchase to get in the hands of my students to make this program work? How many licenses will I need? How does it renew? Do I have a contract for the entire adoption? Do I renew from one year to the next? And that kind of goes along with the contract also. So thinking about all of these things when purchasing is important. Another thing is to make sure you have a lot of eyes on those contracts. Like, I would never agree to something without having someone else look at it. Just like if you're going to buy a new house, you would not want just to be the only person looking at it. You would want your spouse or your mom or somebody along with you. So when you're buying resources for 10,000 elementary kids, you really want to make sure that whatever you are purchasing is not only sustainable and affordable, but what's best. Because in Rockwood, we have things for 8 years. One of my committee members had a baby in the middle of our process, and she came back from maternity leave, and we put up a picture of baby Luke. And I said to the committee, okay, we're in the final countdown here of picking our resources. And whatever we pick is what Luke is going to learn to read with, because 8 years is a long time, and he will be in third grade by the time we pick something new. So that really hit home that, this is huge. So then we adopt, we get all our things. And now you have to have a plan for how are we going to train the teachers? We only have so many days they can come over the summer. How will that look? How will that learning continue throughout the year? And how can we push into like PLCs and in schools during their plan time PD for them? So that was a process. We have 2 years to do that. We start up, after step 1 here of summer training, they start implementing, but that training can go on through the next 2 school years. And then it switches to the next content area. So in Rockwood, math is next. So all the PD is going to be about math, and we have to figure out a way to continue to support our teachers with ELA. So then after that, right now, we're kind of in the evaluating success. We're looking at data, we're talking to teachers, we're getting feedback from teachers, students, parents, just getting out and talking to people to find out what is working, what is not, and if it's not working, what can we do to support you to help it work? So that's kind of where we are right now in the process. And then we keep doing ongoing revisions. We still have that group of literacy leaders that come and meet. I actually have them coming next week, so I'm excited about that. We're back to being able to get subs normally, so I am very excited to continue the work. And then I think it's back to Jillian.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. That I love what you were saying about baby Luke and just how the decisions that you're making right now will last years to come. And really, it's not just till Luke is in third grade. It's really a lifetime and generations. So
it sure is. I feel like I talked really fast. That is a lot to cover in 30 minutes. So I hope you were all able, when you play it back from the recording, you can slow me down a little bit.
No, it was great. And we're already, we only have a couple minutes left. So I'm just going to share a quick little tidbit here about the Science of Reading Collective, which is our free collaborative hub for professional learning and resources. And so the recording of this video will be posted in there. And then I wanted to invite all of you to join our challenge as well, which is in the administrative and school leaders space. So, Stephanie, you talked a lot about how building those belief statements together in community really help strengthen your community evaluation for, with this process. So my challenge for those who are joining us today are to join us in the Science of Reading Collective. You can use this QR code and it will take you right into that school leaders space, into the chat section, and go in there and share a belief statement that you have for the learners in your community and the teachers in your community. We can read each other's, we can grow ideas, and then ideally you can bring this back to your own community and start building those belief statements with each other as well. So we're just really excited to see what you share. All right, so we can move on to the next slide, which is just the thank you. I know we had a couple people ask questions, but I think what we'll do, because we already are at time, is that I will move those questions into the collective where you just got that QR code for. So I will move those questions in there, and then we can continue the conversation in the collective. So, Stefanie, thank you so much for leading us today. Any final thoughts before we head out?
No, I wish people luck. Yeah, I hope the process makes sense and that whatever you believe is represented in what you do and what you choose.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here today, and we will see you soon. Thank you, Stefanie.
Thank you, Jillian.
Bye.